Okay, let's dive in. The football transfer market, it's a whirlwind, isn't it?
Absolutely. Nonstop.
Every single day there's something new. New rumors, new reports, different names just flying everywhere.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to track everything properly.
It really feels like that.
Yeah.
Across Europe, globally even, it's just
Yeah,
information overload.
totally. 1 minute a deal looks dead, the next.
The next, it's the full, here we go. Exactly. How do you even begin to get a handle on it all?
Well, that's the challenge.
But the good news, the really good news, is you've shared some specific source material with us, a breakdown from someone, right in the middle of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what we do here on the Deep Dive. Our mission today, let's cut through all that noise.
Right.
Let's take this information you've given us and really zero in on the crucial bits, the confirmed moves, the big sagas, the stuff that genuinely matters right now.
Yeah, separating the signal from the noise.
Precisely. We want to explore what these specific news items tell us about the bigger picture, how these top clubs actually operate in this, well, frankly, frantic market.
And it's fascinating, isn't it? How these individual stories, you look at them together, they start to paint a picture.
They really do.
Market dynamics, club strategies, the sheer complexity of getting these deals over the line, understanding the details, the stuff behind the headlines, like in this text, that's where the real insight is.
Absolutely. And look, if you find this kind of deep dive valuable, stripping away the extra stuff to get to the core insights on topics you care about, then definitely think about subscribing to the channel.
Yeah, good point.
Hit that subscribe button, maybe turn on the notifications too, and let us help you stay properly informed one deep dive at a time.
Helps us keep doing this too.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Okay, let's jump right in then. We're starting with a really big piece of confirmed news from the source. A major move.
Mm-hmm.
Real Madrid. Fans there, and probably fans of football talent generally, are going to be very excited about this one.
Yeah, this is a significant one.
It really seems to cement Real Madrid's strategic approach, doesn't it? Building for the future.
It does. The source confirms it with, well, absolute certainty. The transfer of Franco Mastantuono to Real Madrid, it's now official.
Official, done.
Done. A huge deal for the player, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Moving from River Plate in Argentina to, well, Real Madrid, one of the biggest clubs going.
And he's so young.
Exactly. It's a massive statement signing for a player who isn't even, legally an adult in many countries yet.
Official. Confirmed. Okay, that's the kind of clarity we like in the transfer world, because honestly, it's often anything but clear.
Tell me about it.
So what are the absolute factual details, the core info the source gives us on this transfer? Let's get it straight. The fee, contract, clubs.
Okay, straight from the source, no ambiguity here. The fee involved is 45 million euros.
45 million, wow.
Yeah, it's a substantial figure for anyone, let alone someone his age.
Right.
And Franco Mastantuono has signed, reportedly, a lengthy 6-year contract with Real Madrid.
6 years.
6 years. Confirmed, moving from his current club, River Plate, to Real Madrid. It's described really plainly, done deal, agreement reached, sealed, delivered, pending the actual move, of course.
A 6-year contract for a player who's, 17 right now?
Yeah, just 17.
That tells you so much, doesn't it, about the long-term vision Real Madrid has. Not just for him, but their whole squad planning.
Absolutely. This isn't a quick fix. It's not short-term depth.
No, it feels like a foundation piece for the next, half decade or more.
Precisely. And the source also touches on the very specific planning for his integration, how he actually joins them. It's tied to a crucial detail.
Okay, what are the steps? How does he physically join the club and get presented?
So the planning, as confirmed in the source, it's quite specific, and it really highlights an important regulatory aspect of these international youth moves.
Right, the rules involved.
Exactly. So the player, Mastantuono, he'll initially stay with River Plate for a bit longer.
Okay.
He's then specifically set to join Real Madrid in August. But there's a key date mentioned,
Right.
August 14th.
August 14th. Why that specific date?
Because, and the source emphasizes this, that's the day he turns 18.
Ah, okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. On that specific date, August 14th, and crucially not before, he will travel to Madrid to formally sign his contract.
So the agreement's done now, but the actual signing ceremony is linked to his birthday.
Seems like it. The terms are agreed, maybe pre-signed paperwork, but the final registration, the official steps, they're all tied to that date. He will then, as the source puts it, be unveiled as new Real Madrid player.
Got it.
So even though everyone's agreed terms now, the formal completion, his actual integration into the squad, It's directly dictated by him hitting 18. Shows how age and legal rules really matter in the timing here.
That timing explicitly linked to his 18th birthday. That is fascinating. It really underlines that even when a deal feels done, these external factors like age rules dictate the final execution.
Absolutely. It's not just about agreeing the money.
Yeah. Now, the source gives us a bit of a wider picture of Real Madrid's summer. It drops some names, suggests this is part of a big summer for them, says it's still ongoing.
Right.
What else does the source suggest about Real's broader activity, based on the specific names mentioned alongside Mastantuono?
Well, the source lists a few names, in the context of Real Madrid's summer window. It suggests they're looking at, well, significant activity.
Yet who?
Obviously, Franco Mastantuono is there, listed as a midfielder, but it also mentions others, seemingly hinting at positions they might be targeting. It lists Xabi Alonso as coach.
Interesting, given Flick just got confirmed.
Yeah, that's an odd one in the source, maybe a slight confusion there, but it's listed in the context of their summer movements. It also mentions a center back,
Dinhausen.
okay, and Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back.
Wow, okay. Big names.
Yeah, and the source explicitly says a big summer, definitely for Real Madrid, and this is still ongoing because Real are still looking at more opportunities on the market.
So, this collection of names, even if, like you said, the Alonso thing seems a bit off based on what we know now, it suggests they're not stopping with Mastantuono.
Seems that way. Exploring options across the pitch, potentially defense, with Dinhausen and Trent Alexander-Arnold mentioned, and obviously confirming the midfield boost with Mastantuono.
It really reinforces that idea then, doesn't it? Getting young talent like Mastantuono is part of a wider strategy. They might also be looking at more established players, addressing needs in different areas, a comprehensive approach.
Yeah, building the squad depth, mixing youth and experience, potentially.
Okay, so we've got that snapshot of potential activity. It's clearly a busy window for them. Given these details about Mastantuono, the big fee for his age, that long 6-year contract, the specific timing tied to his 18th birthday, why is the signing significant right now? What does it really tell us about Real Madrid's strategy for the future, looking beyond just him?
Well, what's really fascinating here is how this specific transfer just perfectly exemplifies Real Madrid's strategy. It's well established, but they keep refining it.
How so?
Committing 45 million euros and a 6-year contract to a player who won't even formally join until he's 18. That's not a gamble on current form.
Right, well, definitely not.
It's a massive investment in projected potential. It signals that Real Madrid sees Mastantuono not just as someone to, fill an immediate gap or provide short-term depth.
Right, he's more than that.
He's seen as a fundamental piece, someone they can potentially build their midfield, maybe even their team, around for the next decade.
That proactive approach, getting these top young talents, especially from South America, before their value goes even higher.
Exactly. It's become a hallmark of their recent transfer policy. It minimizes the risk of getting into bidding wars later on.
And lets them integrate these players young.
Yeah, into their structure, their system. And that 6-year deal, it gives stability to the player, sure, but it also ensures Real Madrid keeps control and benefits from his development over a really significant period.
So it tells us they're planning incredibly far ahead.
Absolutely. Not just next season, but multiple cycles of success. Using signings like this to ensure they have a constant pipeline of, potentially world-class talent.
Highlights their confidence in their scouting, too, I guess.
Oh, massively. Their scouting network, their talent assessment, and their ability to actually develop these young players once they arrive. It's all part of the package.
Okay, so a confirmed major signing for Real Madrid. The plan's clearly laid out, really highlighting that long-term vision. Now, let's shift gears completely.
Okay.
Let's move to a story that the source explicitly calls a saga. And this one seems to have multiple complex layers involving several top European clubs.
Ah, yes, the Nico Williams situation.
That's the one. Let's unpack this dynamic situation.
Yeah, the source dives deep into Nico Williams, and it notes right away this isn't the first time he's been seriously linked with one club in particular, specifically Barcelona.
Right, I remember hearing about that before.
Exactly. The source references the big saga of Nico Williams with Barca that happened about a year ago.
And what happened then?
Well, at that time, according to the source, the talks were just not happening. For whatever reason, maybe the player wasn't keen, maybe the finances didn't work. The source is clear. A year ago, it just wasn't progressing.
Okay, so it stalled last year. And the source mentions that because those talks didn't get anywhere, Barcelona seemed to look elsewhere for a similar type of player.
That's right. It says, after the Nico Williams talks weren't fruitful a year ago, Barcelona then signed a player named Uh, Daniel.
Daniel. Okay. Potential confusion in source, maybe Lamine Yamal.
Yeah, Daniel is the name in the source text. And critically, the source draws a direct contrast. It notes that this player, Daniel, really wanted to go to Barcelona.
Ah, so suggesting player willingness was maybe the issue with Williams last year?
That's the implication, yeah. It provides that historical context.
Yeah.
Player desire wasn't there with Williams a year ago, according to this, but it was with the player they signed instead. Sets the stage for why this year might be different.
Okay, so that was then. What's different this time? What recent developments does the source reveal about Nico Williams and a potential move to Barcelona now? Any concrete steps?
This time, yeah, the situation is described totally differently. It suggests a really significant shift.
How so?
The source details a key meeting, very recent, indicating active, direct engagement.
A meeting. Between who?
A face-to-face meeting, specifically between Nico Williams' agent and Barcelona's director, Deco.
Okay, direct talks. When was this?
Happened in Barcelona on Friday, the day the source's update is apparently based on.
And the outcome. What was the message?
The message Barcelona got from that meeting is explicitly described as very positive important.
Very positive, important. Okay.
And, crucially, the source states that now following this meeting, presumably after some thought, Nico Williams opened the doors to a Barca move this summer.
He's opened the doors himself. That's big.
Huge. The player is now described as being really convinced about the possibility of going to Barcelona. That's a fundamental change from a year ago, where talks weren't happening. Now, the player himself is reportedly willing, even convinced.
That is a massive shift if the player's now on board. Player willingness, like you said, that's often half the battle, isn't it?
Absolutely crucial.
So, if he's willing, what are the main roadblocks? What's stopping this from being straightforward, getting done quickly? The source mentioned finance heavily.
Finance is, highlighted as the primary challenge, maybe even insurmountable for Barcelona.
Why specifically?
The source stresses it's an important deal financially, implying a significant cost. It mentions the recorded release clause in his contract at Athletic Club.
How much is that?
It says it's close to 58 million euros.
58 million, okay.
Which is the amount a club needs to pay Athletic directly to just trigger the transfer bypass negotiations.
Right, the clause.
But on top of that fee, the source notes there's also an important salary commission involved. Agent fees, maybe bonuses for the player, his reps.
Ah, the hidden costs.
Kinda. And the source emphasizes repeatedly, the wall package financially is the real point for Barcelona.
The whole package, not just the transfer fee.
Exactly. Given Barca's well-known financial constraints, La Liga's salary limits, putting together that entire package, the 58 million-ish release clause, plus the significant salary demands, plus the commission, that's a major obstacle for them.
So it's the total cost that's the issue within their current budget.
Precisely. It makes the deal incredibly difficult for them right now.
Right. So the player's open, which is massive, but the financial package, that near 58 million clause plus wages, commission, is a huge wall for Barca. But our Barcelona aren't the only ones interested, are they? The source's others are in the mix.
Definitely not the only ones. The source clearly states there are more clubs in the conversation for Nico Williams. Makes it a proper race.
Who else is specifically mentioned?
2 others are named with recent concrete activity. And interestingly, both seem to face similar financial hurdles, maybe for slightly different reasons than Barca.
Okay, who are they?
First, Bayern Munich. The source says Bayern had 2 meetings for Nico in the last 7 days.
2 meetings? That's serious interest.
Yeah, demonstrates intense recent focus. And this apparently followed a phone call taking place around the Champions League final, so it's been bubbling for a bit. Contacts described as really intense.
But there's a catch for Bayern, too.
Yes. The source immediately notes Bayern's issue. It mirrors Barca's financial struggle, but specifies slightly differently. Financially, the salary requested by Nico Williams is the real issue of this deal for Bayern.
So maybe they can handle the fee, but the wages are the problem.
That's the implication. The players' wage demands are the main sticking point for the Germans, according to this.
Okay, Bayern's in, but salary's the issue. Who's the other club?
Arsenal. Premier League interest. The source states plainly, Arsenal like the player.
And their issue, same thing.
Presented as very similar to Bayern's, yes. It depends on the financial request of the player.
So again, the matches.
Seems so. The source clarifies this for Arsenal, saying it's not about the risk level that's not a problem, but about how much the player wants.
Interesting distinction. So Arsenal aren't worried about the transfer risk itself. They're willing to pay a big fee maybe, but meeting his personal salary demands is the hurdle.
That's what it suggests. So yeah, for all three, Barca, Bayern, Arsenal, the players' financial requirements seem to be the biggest challenge, just presented with slightly different nuances for each club's situation.
Fascinating. Barca facing the total cost, Bayern and Arsenal focusing more on the salary specifically, shows how different club finances or priorities create different hurdles.
Exactly.
What about his current club then? Athletic Club Bilbao, they're unique, right? Only Basque players. Does the source mention their stance? Are they just resigned to losing him, or do they have a plan?
Oh no, the source confirms Athletic are actively working to keep him, putting up a real fight.
Really?
They've apparently already told Nico Williams what their plan is if he decides to stay this summer. They're not just waiting around. They're actively communicating their commitment.
Oh, active. Good.
Yeah. And they have a new contract proposal ready for him. Shows they're prepared to act immediately if he leans towards staying.
What kind of proposal? Competitive.
More than competitive, it sounds like. The source notes the proposed salary in this new offer is even better compared to the current one, and would actually be a record salary for Athletic.
A record salary. Wow.
Yeah, that detail's significant. Shows the immense value they place on him, willing to break their own financial structure to keep him.
So their aim is clear.
Absolutely. As stated in the source, it's to convince the player to stay and keep Nico in Bilbao, leveraging their status as his home club, offering unprecedented terms within their setup to try and counter the pull of these bigger clubs.
Okay, let's try and piece this Nico Williams saga together then, based on the source. It's complex.
It really is. So, to summarize, the player himself, unlike last year, has now opened the doors to Barca after a positive meeting with Deca. Reportedly, really convinced.
What?
But the feasibility for Barcelona hinges entirely on them solving that financial package release clause, salary, commission. That's their real point of difficulty.
And while they're trying to figure that out,
Other big clubs, Bayern and Arsenal specifically, are intensely in the conversation. Recent meetings held, both reportedly facing hurdles with the salary requested by Nico Williams.
and his current club.
Athletic Club are pushing hard to keep him. New contract ready, offering a record salary for the club. Their aim, convince the player to stay, keep Nico in Bilbao.
Classic transfer saga then. Multiple factors. Player will, club finances, competing offers, a determined home club.
Exactly. All at play. The source kind of concludes it's up to Barca now, but with that massive caveat that it depends on them finding a financial solution.
Well, knowing these other strong offers and counter offers are out there could swing it either way.
Precisely. It's hanging in the balance.
Wow, that really is multi-layered. A lot of moving parts, huge financial implications everywhere. Okay, let's shift away from these ongoing sagas for a moment.
Right.
While that Nico Williams thing unfolds, the source says Barcelona have actually completed a concrete, significant signing. Different position, though.
Yes, that's right. The source confirms Barcelona have completed their first signing of the summer window.
Who is it?
The player is Juan Garcia. Position, goalkeeper.
Juan Garcia, goalkeeper.
Presented as a done deal. Finalized, secured.
Their first summer signing, and it's a keeper. That's interesting. Usually quite stable at top clubs. What are the specifics? Who's he joining from? How did the transfer happen? What about the money?
Source gives clear details on how it went down. It says Barcelona have paid the release clause for Juan Garcia.
Paid the release clause. Okay, so straightforward in that sense.
Yeah, triggered the clause in his contract with his old club.
Yeah.
Allowed them to sign him once they paid the set fee, bypassed negotiation on the value itself.
Who was the old club? And the fee?
His previous club was Espanyol, and the fee paid is confirmed as 25 million euros.
25 million for a keeper. Not cheap.
No, definitely not. And furthermore, an agreement is done with the goalkeeper on a long-term contract. Shows Barca's commitment to him.
Long-term deal, too. Okay.
Yeah, the source is pretty definitive. Barca have triggered the close, so he can be considered Juan Garcia as new Barca goalkeeper. The formal stuff, legal bits, documents for the announcement, that's still pending, as usual.
Right, the admin.
But the core agreement triggering the fee that secures him, that's complete.
A 25 million euro fee for a goalkeeper, long-term contract.
Yeah, that suggests he's not just coming in as, a third choice or someone purely developmental.
Seems unlikely, that price, yeah.
So what does this imply for Barca's existing goalkeeping situation? Thinking particularly about Marc-Andre ter Stegen, their established number one for years, does the source hint at the impact?
It does acknowledge the implications, yeah. It notes a new goalkeeper is coming for Hansi Flick, the new coach.
And crucially, it adds, looking ahead at the potential consequences, we will see how they will resolve the matter of Marc-Andre ter Stegen.
So it directly flags that potential issue or change.
Exactly. This new signing, especially a $25 million long-term deal, it definitely signals increased competition in the ranks, or maybe foreshadows a bigger change in that position under Flick.
Raises questions, as the source highlights, about Ter Stegen's future role. Is this guy coming to challenge him directly? Is there a longer-term plan, given Ter Stegen's age, contract?
Yeah, it's a proactive move. Suggests Barca are making sure they have options, strength, and depth there.
Okay, so Barcelona making moves in sagas and with concrete signings that could shake up the existing squad. Let's move now to another massive transfer.
Yeah.
One the source seems exceptionally confident about, using that familiar phrase. Signals a deal is absolutely done. Florian Wirtz.
Ah, yes, Florian Wirtz. He's been part of a big saga in the recent days, as you'd expect for a talent like him. Lots of speculation.
But regarding Liverpool...
Regarding his move to Liverpool, the core information, the definitive statement from the source is clear, unambiguous. The agreement is done.
The agreement is done. Simple as that. In transfers, that's about as strong as it gets before the official announcement, right?
Pretty much.
What specific agreements are mentioned as finalized? Is it just club to club, or is the player sorted too?
The source is very precise. Agreement done on multiple fronts. Firstly, between the player, Wirtz, and the club, Liverpool. That's personal terms, salary, contract length, all that.
Okay, player side sorted.
And secondly, just as crucial, it's done between the clubs. Bayer Leverkusen, selling, and Liverpool, buying. The source uses really strong language, club to club done.
Club to club done. Wow.
Both key parts, personal terms with the player, transfer fee structure with Leverkusen, reported as entirely complete.
Okay, agreement done, player to club to club, covers the main pillars.
But the source hints at a potential discrepancy. Maybe a battle brewing about the reported fee once it goes public. Yeah, this is a fascinating little detail the source highlights.
Yeah.
Shows the complexity of public reporting, even when deals are done internally.
What's the issue?
The source anticipates a battle will start on the media about the exact fee. It suggests Liverpool will apparently brief a lower fee, around $138 million.
$138 million, okay.
But Bayer Leverkusen, the selling club, considers the fee higher. They're apparently stating it's 150 million euros included.
150 million including add-ons, maybe?
That's usually how these discrepancies arise, yeah. Add-ons, bonuses, different ways of structuring payments, maybe even currency fluctuations between agreement and announcement. The source notes this kind of difference is very difficult to resolve publicly.
So the two clubs might just present slightly different numbers.
Seems likely. The source just presents the discrepancy, doesn't offer a final verdict, just points out it's a difference in how the fee will be communicated.
Right. That's a really interesting peek behind the curtain, the PR side of these huge deals. Deal is done, but the narrative around the price might differ. Despite that potential fee debate, though, the source uses incredibly strong language about the deal itself. Is it truly complete, regardless of the fee presentation?
Absolutely complete. According to the source, the language leaves basically no doubt.
Like what?
It states repeatedly, emphatically, the deal is agreed, confirms the fundamental understanding, describes it as a record deal for Liverpool, underlining the significance.
Record deal.
Okay. And maybe most definitively, the source states the deal is completely done. To really hammer it home, it confirms all the contracts, all the documents is already prepared and finalized.
Contracts, documents, already.
And unequivocally states, Liverpool have signed Florian Wirtz. The use of, here we go, that classic phrase for a done deal, it's implied throughout and confirmed at the end, presented as a certainty.
If the deal is completely done, contracts ready, Liverpool have signed him, it's a, here we go. Why isn't it official yet? Why haven't we seen him holding the shirt, doing the medical, the big announcement? The source gives a surprisingly simple reason.
It really is one of those moments, isn't it, where the reality of players' lives bumps up against the high-stakes transfer world.
Yeah.
The simple reason given by the source for why Wirtz hasn't done the final public steps.
Yeah.
Quite simply.
Yeah.
He's on holiday.
Slight chuckle. He's on holiday. Seriously. For a record deal?
Apparently so.
Okay. That's almost anticlimactic.
It is a bit. The source then details the next steps. As soon as he's back from his break, it's clear the holdup is just logistical, nothing wrong with the agreement.
Quite Vincent.
As soon as the player returns from holiday, he will go to Liverpool, take his medical, and sign his contract. Confirms everything fundamental is settled. Just pending his return from a well-earned break to do the procedural stuff, pass the medical, physically sign the contract everyone's already agreed on.
That detail about being on holiday is almost charmingly simple for such a huge deal, held up by something so relatable.
Yeah, grounds it a bit, doesn't it?
So deal done, just waiting for him to get back from his trip. The source wraps this point up with a pretty strong personal endorsement too, right? Goes beyond just reporting, offers an opinion on his quality.
Yes, the concluding sentiment from the source on Wirtz is really positive, really confident. Reflects the excitement around getting a player like him.
What does it say exactly?
It states definitively, F. Wirtz to Liverpool is, and will be, here we go. Enjoy this signing because he's a fantastic player.
So emphasizes the here we go confirmation, but also calls him fantastic.
Exactly. Highlights the confidence in the deal being done, but also really stresses the quality Liverpool are getting. It's not just a big fee. It's seen as landing a genuinely top-tier talent.
Okay, we've looked at confirmed deals for young stars, huge fees, long contracts, complex sagas with multiple clubs, financial hurdles. Now, finally, let's look at a different kind of move mentioned in the source.
Right.
A high-profile player available as a free agent. Someone whose situation has been quite unique recently, Paul Pogba.
Yes, the source addresses Paul Pogba's situation, states his current status clearly,
Right.
available as a free agent on the market.
Right. His ban ended a while back.
Exactly. It notes he's been available to play since March. But despite being available for a few months, the source reports that no club reached any agreement with Pogba in the recent months.
So it hasn't been straightforward finding his next club.
That's the implication. Maybe wage demands, fitness concerns after the timeout, questions around the ban situation. Whatever the reason, it seems finding the right fit took some time.
But now, after those quiet months, according to the source, a specific club is making a concrete move for him as a free agent.
That's what the source indicates, yes. A club is stepping forward with an offer.
Which club?
Monaco, from France. The source also notes, kind of in passing, that Monaco have been active, already signed Eric Dyer earlier, so they're looking to strengthen further.
Monaco making a bid for Pogba. Okay. What are the reported terms? What kind of contract are they offering?
The specific offer mentioned in the source from Monaco to Pogba is a 2-year contract on the table.
2 years, okay.
Yeah, indicates they're offering him a deal that would keep him there for the next 2 seasons, gives him a degree of stability after his recent uncertainty.
So, a 2-year deal offered by Monaco. What stage are things at? Is a decision close? Still early days?
Current status is, well, the ball's firmly in Pogba's court now. The source states clearly, now Pogba has to decide whether to accept Monaco's offer.
So Monaco are waiting for his answer.
Exactly.
Right.
Having made their move, they want an answer from him. The source indicates Monaco are quite confident to get a green light from Paul Pogba. Suggests they think their offer is attractive, maybe the player's receptive.
Confident they'll get him then.
Seems that way. It confirms negotiations underway for Pogba to Monaco on a 2-year contract. So, discussions are active, progressing towards a potential conclusion. Monaco sounds optimistic.
Why might Monaco be an attractive option for Pogba right now, especially as a free agent, after everything? The source mentions their project.
Yeah, the source highlights several things that could make Monaco's offer appealing, especially after his recent challenges, time out of the game.
Like what?
It's described as a big proposal, suggesting the financial terms, even for a free agent, are significant. They offer an interesting project, implies a clear plan, direction for the club that might appeal to his ambitions.
And crucially
For a top player, they offer Champions League football. Monaco qualified.
that's a big draw.
Huge. Those factors combined, competitive money, a compelling project, playing in Europe's top competition, could definitely sway his decision. It's a chance to get back to top-level football, competitive environment, Champions League stage.
Makes sense. And the source connects this potential Pogba move to other activity at Monaco too, paints a bigger picture.
It does, yeah. Paints a picture of their overall ambition this window. It mentions a move for Ansu Fati to Monaco is also advancing.
Ansu Fati as well, wow.
Yeah, although there's apparently been some complication on the salary coverage for that deal, described as a loan with an option to buy close. But the conversation for Fati is reportedly at the final stages.
So Fati potentially coming too? Anyone else?
It also notes Monaco are also looking for a goalkeeper, but that their target, mentioned as the De Gea, is staying at Fiorentina. So they're active elsewhere, but maybe facing competition or other issues there.
Got it. But this broader context shows the potential Pogba move is part of a larger, ambitious strategy by Monaco, really trying to strengthen for that Champions League return.
Exactly. Targeting high-profile names like Pogba and potentially Ansu Fati.
Okay, so summing up the Paul Pogba
Yeah.
situation then, based on the source.
The conclusion drawn by the source is pretty clear. The expectation is for Paul Pogba to go to Monaco.
That's the expectation.
Yeah. And given the progress with the Ansu Fati deal also being in its final stages, the source states, we could say Paul Pogba is close to joining Monaco after Ansu Fati.
So, looking likely he ends up there.
Seems poised to make that move to Monaco on a free transfer. Yeah. Marks what the source clearly calls an important window for Monaco. Getting potentially Pogba and Ansu Fati would be significant additions.
Okay, wow. We've taken the source material you shared and really dug into these key stories. Let's recap. Franco Mastantuono, official long-term move to Real Madrid.
Done deal. August 14th arrival.
The really intricate Nico Williams saga, Barca's financial issues, Bayern and Arsenal interested but facing wage hurdles, Athletic's record contract offered to key them.
Still very much up in the air, that one.
Barcelona actually securing goalkeeper Juan Garcia, triggering his 25 million release clause from Espanyol.
Their first signing. Potentially challenging Ter Stegen.
The massive confirmed Wirtz transfer to Liverpool, just waiting on his holiday to finish before the medical and announcement.
Record deal for Liverpool. Fantastic player.
And finally, Paul Pogba's potential high-profile free agent move to Monaco, seemingly close as part of their ambitious window.
Yeah, potentially joining after Ansu Fati.
Looking at this collective snapshot, just from this one source, what does it tell us about the current state of the global football transfer market? What are the big themes jumping out?
Well, if we connect these specific examples, several key themes really emerge about the market right now.
Such as?
Firstly, that clear ongoing emphasis on getting young, high-potential talent, often at huge cost, long-term vision. We saw that vividly with Mastantuono, Wirtz, and the intense chase for Nico Williams, who's only 21 himself.
Clubs betting big on youth.
Big time, committing substantial resources, long contracts for players seen as the future. Secondly, finance. It remains absolutely paramount, frequently the biggest hurdle.
We saw that clearly with Nico Williams and Barca's financial wall.
Exactly. And the differing reported figures for Wirtz show that complexity. Triggering Juan Garcia's 25 million clause was mentioned explicitly.
Yeah.
The financial details around Pogba's potential contract, the Fati loan complications, it's all central.
Navigating the money fees, wages, regulations is key to getting deals done.
Absolutely. Thirdly, clubs are actively planning for the future. Real Madrid's 6-year deal for an 18-year-old Mastantuono, their plan to keep looking for more opportunities. It shows that long-term thinking.
And player preference.
That's another key factor. Nico Williams opening the doors to Barca after being unconvinced before shows how crucial player desire can be. It can break deadlocks, steer a saga, adds another layer beyond just clubs and cash.
And the free agent market, like with Pogba.
Yeah, that still presents strategic opportunities. For clubs managing budgets or looking for experience, these examples covered a lot of ground.
So this isn't just abstract market talk then. Understanding these specific moves gives real insight into how these elite clubs actually function, doesn't it?
Definitely.
How does keeping track of these details, like we've just done by deep diving into this source, help you, our listener, understand the sport and its mechanics better? Why bother with the specifics beyond just the headlines?
That's a really important point about the value for you, the listener. Following football, understanding transfers. It's not just about, who goes where. It's seeing how these elite clubs operate as sophisticated businesses, strategic bodies, in a super competitive global market.
These examples are like case studies.
Exactly. Varied case studies of different market dynamics. You've got the confirmed strategic long-term youth investments secured early, Mastantuono.
Right.
The complex multi-club negotiation driven by money constraints and player will at Nico Williams. The targeted reinforcement for a specific need via a release clause on Garcia.
Yep.
The massive record-breaking deal for an emerging superstar just waiting on logistics. Wirtz.
And the free agent play.
And the strategic use of the free agent market for a high-profile player offering experience, Champions League quality, Pogba. By diving into these specifics, the fees, contracts, timing, the explicit reasons for hurdles from the source, you gain insight.
Insight into what exactly?
How clubs build squads under financial pressure. How they strategize for competitions based on players and market chances. How they manage that complex mix of player desire, agent influence, club goals. It's a window into the business side, the future direction of these teams. The strategic engine room of the sport, really.
It really is fascinating when you break it down like that, seeing how all these different pieces fit together and what these individual stories reveal about the whole landscape.
Definitely.
So, just to recap one last time. Mastantuono official to Real Madrid long term. Nico Williams saga continues Barca's financial wall. Bayern Arsenal interest. Athletics fight to keep him. Barca's signkeeper Juan Garcia via release clause. Wirtz to Liverpool confirmed, just waiting on his holiday. And Pogba potentially heading to Monaco on a free.
And what really stands out, looking across all those examples from just this one source, is the sheer pace, the diversity, the complexity, all captured in just a few key updates. Multi-million euro deals for teenagers, drawn-out sagas hinging on salary demands across multiple countries, record transfers delayed by a summer break. The market's just this non-stop engine. Each story a unique puzzle finance strategy player will.
Exactly. It really makes you wonder, you look at this blend. Strategic youth signings like Mastantuono and Wirtz demanding huge fees, long contracts. Alongside the financial hurdles clubs clearly face for players like Nico Williams and the tactical use of free agents like Pogba, how are clubs going to keep balancing that massive investment needed for potential against the immediate needs of building a winning squad, especially with financial regulations tightening?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe the 150 million euro question now.
Chuckles. Right. And what does that balancing act mean for the perceived value of proven experience versus that raw, high-cost talent in the years ahead? It's definitely something to chew on as this transfer window keeps rolling.
Food for thought, for sure.
Well, thank you for sharing your sources with us and for joining this deep dive today. It's been incredibly insightful unpacking these stories together.
My pleasure. Keep exploring these topics, keep digging into the details. That's where the real understanding lies, finding those clues behind the headlines.
We'll certainly be here, ready for the next deep dive whenever you are. See you then.